Hello, everybody. I was really digging that song, and I totally forgot I had a timing here. Welcome to the show. Today is Monday, October 21st, 2024, and if today is, that is not the date. Correction. It is October 28th, and if today is not that date, you are watching a replay. Broadcasting live in the United Public Radio Network, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast, and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Also broadcasting live on social media. This show is brought to you by the Experiencer Support Association, and I'm your host, Ryan Stacey. I'm a licensed private investigator, and as the Director of Investigations for the Experiencer Support Association, I use my investigative skills to dive headfirst into the hidden mysteries of UFOs, paranormal activity, and consciousness phenomena. Just a different type of work day for me today. I normally have a break in between work and the podcast, but I worked all the way through, so I apologize for that. But I'm here. Hi, Jill. Hi, Lisa. Good to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for saying hi and not being a creep. You got people in the background there who haven't chimed in yet. Say hello. Don't be weird. Okay, the updates. Let's go.
Tessa News and Updates.
All right, so we got a lot of moving parts going on all over the place, and by we I mean the many faces of me as a Gemini. I got a lot of things going on in my life these days, but a lot of people who are in the know, that need to know, are understanding that we're going through a bit of a corporation shift, and that is important. Why? Because it frees me up to do more time, frees me up to do the things that you all want me to do and all the things that you like to have. It's been stressing me out a lot because I'm a wanted man for many things. But what I've done as of today is I've officially switched seats. And what I'm hoping to do is that's going to free up more time within the next couple of weeks to make up for the lost time while I was too busy doing everything else to keep things running. So I really appreciate everybody who has been helping me in the background and doing all these magical things to keep things going while I figured stuff out. And I want to encourage everybody who understands my stress, or not encourage, or personally thank them talking me off the ledge, because I'll be completely honest with you. There's been times when I wanted to throw in the towel in order to just do what needs to be done, do this mission, do this spiritual thing, if you will. But with that comes responsibility and laws and bills and finances and all those other things. So for those of you who understand the corporate world. So I made some changes to free me up to slide into a more comfy role and still allow things to be continue as planned. So announcements for that will come when it's necessary. But I'm kind of celebrating my freedom right now, because instead of doing work all day, I kind of just grabbed a whole bunch of things and threw it in a box. It's almost like I quit, but I didn't quit. Just passed and delegated the responsibility, and I'm quite happy with that. So that's a personal update for me. I've been getting a lot of downloads. I'm getting a lot of information. I've been journaling a lot. I have narrowed down the date in which this weird thing I have on my face that I've been, for those of you who don't know, I'm not trying to be self-cautious or anything like that, but there is a timing with exposure to certain things that I'm starting to notice a biological effect on myself, and I've been studying that. That's something I've never shared, but that's information I've recently discovered. I've also been doing some work on determining the months and and now I need to take a dive into the language to try and understand the original characters, or alphabet, if you will, when it was translated from either cuneiform to hieroglyphs to the actual phonetic letters that we got from the Phoenicians, which were the Greek. So there's a lot of things that I've been trying to figure out the right place, the right time, the right lexicon, if you will. And then from there, I can be able to interpret a lot of these ancient texts and a lot of ancient things that kind of which is the foundation of a lot of these theories come from. Why is that important? It is important to understand the actual interpretation of some of these things, so that way I can look at the way it was communicated, get the facts to understand the broken telephone game that we're currently in, such as life. And that can be used for UFOs, that could be used for paranormal, that could be used for any theory, cryptids, even government stuff, history, things like that. So on that point, I will share I got my screen open here. Oh no, you can't see this. Awesome. I shared the wrong screen. Good thing. So I'm going to close this up here, and I'm going to get into Tessa specific updates. So let me get into this. I'm just going to change what I'm presenting here. Share screen, the whole window. Thank you. Done. So we do have a lot of projects in the works, but I've been bunged up trying to get all these things out of the way so I can work on these projects. And unfortunately, I have run out of time. I have a deadline this Saturday. I will be speaking at a conference. It is virtual. I'm still working out the featured article to announce that. The plan was to do that today. I may not be able to get it out today, but I definitely will get it out tomorrow, so that way Danny can talk about it on his podcast, Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. But yeah, I'm going to be doing a presentation. I'll let you know when and where, so check my Facebook for that, and my socials, wherever you are. It will not be in this program, so heed the world. Just find me on that on Facebook. I don't really use Instagram, but it's there. But it'll be there. So there'll be an announcement of some stuff. Daniela, thank you for tuning in. Hi. Thank you for saying hello. Anybody else out there want to say hi or got some questions, let me know. So that's in the works. And then next week's guest for the podcast is a big guest, because it's also a new member of Tessa that we haven't announced yet either, because I've been too busy doing this shift to free me up to do all these things and deliver on these promises. So it is coming, but it's a little bit delayed, but there are big things coming. All right, I feel like I'm doing a horoscope reading here. So there are things coming. I assure you there are changes. I just got to get back into the Tessa seat here, which I've been away for some time. And shout out to those who are taking the responsibility to keep things going the way that we need to go. So on the website, we did talk about updates to the timeline. I've been told that they're done. I just want to confirm. I don't think it's been published yet. I don't know where these categories would be, but we did talk. I got to refer to the email, but we did have a conversation on how I can have multiple timelines. And there'll be a converging timeline, which will serve as a master timeline. So right now, this is kind of a bit of mostly aerial activity, but then we're starting to get into some paranormal stuff. And the paranormal is kind of good for the master plan, but I want to track paranormal separately. And then I'm also going to track a whole bunch of other things. So for those of you who aren't familiar with this timeline, you want to go to the website, check it out, and get familiar with it. I've explained it in previous episodes. I don't want to dive into that. So other than that, those are the changes that I'm aware of for this week. All right. So today's episode, we'll go to the home page here, all the way down. Let's go. All right. So I'm talking about this case here. But tomorrow night, Beyond the Tinfoil Hat with Debbie, I'm going to say Dochinger, or Dockinger. I don't know how, or Dosh, probably some fancy way of saying that. But this lady is going to be talking about alien contact, shamanism, and ancient wisdom. So it should be a good show with Danny Whitson tomorrow, October 29th. Same place, same different time, one next hour. 6 o'clock start, 7 o'clock start, 7 o'clock start. I should know these things. And this is the thing. I've been so out of touch with what's really going on, and just really happy that the people that have been putting in the work, volunteering their time, doing these things to allow me to take care of business. So I really, so this is a huge shout out. So I am back. I'm working my way back, but I gotta put my hands on everything once again and restructure and rebuild because we have a new team now. Okay, announcements will come, and I'll shout out because I know some of them are listening. I would not be able to make this move or this pivot if I didn't have the confidence and the trust. As little as that is for some people who know me, trust is a big thing. I would not be able to pivot this way if I wasn't confident that I'd have a team to support that or try this new way. And I had to be, I have to model that off of the people. So as you know, Tessa does not recruit. Tessa basically entertains those who make the request. So if you want to be a part of it, you must request it. Send an email by admin at experienceyoursupport.org, and we'll have a conversation. And based on that conversation, will lead to an invitation. But I will tell you this: most invitations are given after the interview on Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. I may not always be in the chat, but I do always check in and watch these things, and I get a good vibe. If I get a good vibe, invitations will come. If I don't get a good vibe, invitations won't come directly. But if you're still interested and you want to, then we'll consider it. But an interview on this podcast is how you get started. All right? So that'll be good. And Jillian says, it will be a good shift. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Don't know where I'm going yet. I just know who's on. I just built the boat. I put you and Chris and everybody else in it. Where we're going, I don't know. But I appreciate the fact that you're understanding and you're willing to give it a go, just like Chris and everybody else. Danny, Christy, forget anybody? If I did, I'm sorry. I apologize. I got to get this show going. Okay, so we are hopping into aerial activity.
Aerial activity, sensory display.
All right, and Coley, I see you. Weber, I see you. Thanks for the like. If you got any questions, I do remember seeing your comment about being a guest on a podcast. I don't know if you've sent the email to admin yet. If you haven't, send it. If you, admin will get to it once I give admin direction. Then we can get that part going. So I apologize for the delay. All right, many hats that this guy is wearing, and I just want to get back into the work. That's all I want to do. All right, Tessa is for everyone. But I'm tired of this boss stuff. I want to take a break for a little bit. But anyways, okay, aerial activity. Here we go. So you're going to go to the visual evidence database. And we are looking for aerial activity today. So I'm going to uncheck anything that's not relevant to help me find that. I do need to keep some of these cases up, though. So again, doing this for the benefit of new people joining the show. I apologize to those who have seen the show and might be wondering why I do this every time. But you never know who's watching. And if you're new, this is important. Okay, so aerial activities. Maybe I'll turn off these declassifications to narrow this down for a little bit. Number 14 is the one I'm looking for. Can't remember where it was. I think we started moving down, right? There it is. Right there. Got it. Okay, this one's going to take quite a bit, this one here. Going to take a bit of time. That one, if we have time, we'll do aerial activity, and then that we did crop circles. Okay, so this is where we are. All right, this guy here. Aerial activity. So let's get into that. Any questions, comments, concerns, anything? Nothing. All right. So aerial activity number 14, 2020. And it's actually kind of funny because this particular experiencer has just made a post because I've been following his work outside of what they do. Experience support. Let me send this email. Come on now. Outside of what they actually do. I don't want to talk about it because I can't. I was gonna I got to change the subject because if I talk about what he's doing, then you might connect the dots with this. So anyways, there's an odd coincidence that the professional circle has I was actually going to do something on the professional side separate from this experiencer. And then now I'm actually working on his case or talking about his case. So that's just serendipitous for me. Okay. So aerial activity machine, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, February 27th, 2020. This is a picture. Okay. This picture is part of a video. Okay. So we're going to get into a video here. This one's got a lot more information because I was able to do more work because there was enough data there. Am I touching a mic? There's blurts of static. I am not touching a mic. I'm using the built-in microphone for the Mac that I'm using. I apologize for the static. That could be me messing with the vibration. I don't know. Sorry about that, but thanks for letting me know. I do have a mic somewhere. Is it big of a deal? Let me know. I'll get one. But yeah. Okay. So, okay. So we're gonna watch this video. I don't know if you hear the music, but I'll narrate it. On February 27, 2020, in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, a witness had observed a low-flying object that did not look normal to him. If you guys are listening on radio, there's images here that you need to see. All right, audio is good. Carl McNeil, thank you for tuning in. Audio is good. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Danielle says, sounds good. And Jillian says it stopped. Okay, so maybe I was just getting a little too free with my personals there, and someone was cutting me out because I'm saying too much. Said too much. Okay, did not look normal to him. So here's the image here. Screenshot from the original drawing. Gotta zoom out here. Oops. All right. So the object moved slowly from left to right, had no sound, and according to our RPAS pilot, so we don't have one anymore, but we used to one. His name was what was his name? Stephen Coffey. So he took a look at this. He's an expert, drone expert. This object does not resemble a drone or conventional airplane. Okay, so we had him look at that. Jillian says, hi, Carl. Oh. Jillian, he's on Facebook. You're on YouTube, so you won't see your comment. So just so you know, Carl, if you know Jillian, she says hi. Okay, so here's a zoom up here. The object was seen by a second witness approximately 7 kilometers away. The object was seen turning vertical before disappearing behind a field 10 kilometers away from Canadian Forces Base, Edmonton. Yeah, this is a goodie. This is a goodie. All right, so we got a second witness, and it is near an old base. Well, it was near the old one before they moved the new one. All right. An ATIP has been requested, yada, 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 yada. So 2020, right? So I will tell you that in my Canadian current event survey, which has been rebranded of the North, which is another thing I'm going to be able to do now that I have my free time. Well, once I get the team onboarded, is I'll continue these reports. This one's from 2020. This case is featured in it. In comparison to all the declassified documents. Actually, there it is right there. I just saw it on page 96 for those who have it, okay, on the 2020 version of this book, okay. Every year, the data sets get compounded, okay, but the information, the breakdown of all the cases are new each year, okay. If you guys are interested, that 2020 and 2021 are out. I still have to do 22 and 23. It's been delayed because of COVID. The government has given me back most of the documents. I'm still waiting on one. And that, so I'm still waiting on that. That's the delay. Okay, it's 2024, almost 2025. I can't finish these reports if the government doesn't provide their information. So anyways, this case is that significant that it's in this book. Okay. You can get those on Amazon. Just search Ryan Stacey UFO. It'll come up. Actually, let me see. No, I can't do Amazon on here. You'll see my personals. Okay, so that's the end of it. So here's the witness statement from February 29, 2020. Okay, so the report came in February 27th. Witness statement. Sorry, the event was on the 27th. We got the report on the 29th. So that's another thing too. It happened. We got video. We got government involvement, and we got information 2 days after it had happened. This is our unicorn in terms of reporting. Okay, and I just so happen to be freed up to be able to look into it. Again, I apologize that I've been away working on all the business stuff to keep everything going. All right, so my mom, English spelling, her boyfriend, and myself were leaving her house and heading west on 92nd Avenue. He reached 156th Street and was waiting on traffic to turn left. Okay, so who is he in this? So the boyfriend. It is an awful left turn and usually takes a few minutes for traffic to clear up. And I was watching 3 horizontal lights blinking in an odd pattern just above the roof line of houses on 156th Street. All right, so there's an explanation of that's relevant sitting at the traffic light. It's a normally long light. Happened to have time to take a look out the window because it wasn't driving. I watched for about 6 to 7 seconds, and then I said, "Hey, Mom, check out that UFO above the houses." Redacted and redacted both witnessed the object. So that's the name of mom and boyfriend. I took out my trusty camera and began to film. I kept thinking, okay, get a clear video. Don't shake the... almost read that out. I can't swear on this thing. I almost read it. The effing camera. Try to describe what you were seeing. I filmed clear footage for about 5 seconds before Brett asked if we should follow it. So there is another person in the car, wasn't mentioned. These are the 2 that were redacted, just to be clear. That's why that's not redacted. Permission was given. Asked if we should follow it. I said yes. We turned right onto 156th Street and headed north. At this time, I was able to film half a second more of the object before it went northwest behind some buildings, and we lost sight of it. After I lost sight, I phoned my friend, redacted. I call him my dad, okay, and said, "Hey, Dad, go out on your porch and look northwest and tell me if you see the blinking lights." He went outside and witnessed the object moving northwest. He told me that the lights moved into a vertical position and kept on northwest route before he lost sight of it as well. So now the object moved. It's the orientation that you saw with those 3 lights. The witness on the second witness saw the same thing, but then saw it maneuver. And then it disappeared a further distance away. And we're going to go through that. Now, in comparison to previous episodes, okay, this is good data. This experiencer had provided a lot of traceable information to recreate and to verify that all these things, whether or not this scenario has happened. Okay, this is good. Okay, and because it's within 2 days, I was able to make requests, get information, all that stuff, yada yada. So I'm trying to see. Now I'm going to try and remember what I put out here. So let's watch this video. I don't know if you have audio, if you can hear the audio of the video. So since you guys are keen on chiming in, please let me know if you hear this audio, because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Stone Hobbit, thank you for the, what is that? A ghost, an alien, and a kiss. Well, thank you. All right. Thanks for tuning in. All right, here's this video. If you can hear the audio, let me know. You're on radio. Unfortunately, you hear nothing but me. So you notice the 3 lights. So at this point here, this is when he started filming the video. So he saw it, then he was able to get the recording out. So this verifies that what he saw before. He thinks it's a blimp. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but that's what he said there. Jimmy, Thanks, Jimmy. Jimmy says, always enjoy your insight and passion for UFOs and exclosure. I think you mean disclosure. But thank you. Jillian says she can hear the audio. Okay, well, I don't know. Maybe it just didn't work that one day, but I was told it never worked, so I stopped doing it. But anyways, thank you, Jill. Stone Hobbit says thank you. And hey, roomies. Hey, roomies. What's up? Okay, so there's the actual like evidence in that point. Here's another screenshot on the object. He thinks it's a blimp. And it's good when we try to understand what the experiencer thinks it might be, because that's the first place we're going to look. Because if it's a blimp, it's likely a blimp, because maybe they know things about blimps. Maybe. Airships, things like that. Free energy. You know, they may not use them as much anymore, but they used to exist way back then. I mean, by way back then, I mean like Tartarian, ancient times, like old world, one world, all that time. I just heard blips. Yeah, okay. We'll do another test later, Jillian, and then with something that you actually need to hear. Okay, so this is a little bit of me showing some of the work that I've done. This is also something new on this program. I don't show my work very often because there was a time, let me be honest here. There was a time where, and there still is a time, especially in this UFO community, if it bleeds, it leads. Okay, there's a lot of clickbait out there, and there's a lot of journalists out there trying to put information out there so that way they can get their article and they get that ad revenue. There's a lot of competition in getting the message out. Where I have issues with that is that they're not caring about doing the work. They're rushing to get the story so that way they can get their bills paid. And there are a lot of people out there that that's the way it works. It's a custom. It's the tradition, but it's also the reason why we have these issues, these social issues. Part of my struggle with the business and things like that I mentioned earlier was that these are things that I have to do in order to do this. And I don't like doing all those things in order to do this, right? But I understand that it's something that needs to be done in this three-dimensional world so I can talk more than three dimensions here with my audience here. And but I got to do a lot of things to make the money come in so I can, yeah, that's essentially how it works. So the media game at this time, there was a lot of competition. I'm trying to get my name out there and trying to not get buried. But what has been happening is I would put stuff out there when I was starting, and then they would take my work and then they would publish it under their own, and I would not get any credibility. So then I had to balance this whole, like, am I doing it for my ego? Am I doing it for the people? Am I genuinely dealing with it? Or do I have real crooked people? So I was also spending a lot of time trying to understand the why and trying to also, work myself up and work myself down. And this is like a few years back. So I've worked through all of that trauma. But, it's hard to trust some of these circles when there's money involved. You get what I'm saying? So the fact that I'm showing some work here is a huge step, especially since I've been considering all those things at the time. So I just kind of wanted to share that just from context. Got some questions here. Jimmy says, you are like the Canadian version of Stanton Friedman, be a little thinner and a little less nuts. Well, that's like two truths and a lie. And maybe thinner, a little less nuts, that's debatable. But Stanton Friedman is Canadian, just so you know. So I'm not a Canadian version of him. He is Canadian. He did focus on Roswell, and that's what he's most known for. But I've talked to Stanton. I've met Stanton many times. I got a few pictures. If you scroll my Instagram, because it's all pictures, just easy. It's on Facebook too. But I got pictures of me with Stanton reviewing my reports and my work and stuff. And I actually, fun fact, Stanton Friedman told me in front of my MUFON crew at the time that he hasn't seen any work as detailed as my work since Project Blue Book. Okay, unfortunately, he has passed, and we can't ask him that. But I can't swear in this thing. I kid you not. That is something he said. Also, Paul Hellyer was also giving me some graces, and that data that he's talking about eventually turned into this book. Okay, Amazon, Ryan Stacey, UFO support. Okay, but thanks, Jimmy. But Stanton is Canadian. Jesus, there's lots of questions on. You're going to get into this case. Okay, did you ask the experiencer if they felt strange then or afterwards? Were there noises? Did it look like drones and hologram? Blue beam always go with logical first. Okay, I'll get into the experience part when I go through this case. I'll tell you what I remember. You said he was from my neck of the woods. Yes, Jillian, you are in his neck of the woods. You could probably go to the museum. That's another place that I want to go to. If you haven't been there, there's something. There's archives there. There's access to information. You just might be able to help me with that. I'll put that in the memory box for a million other ideas that I got, but we've got to stick with the other ones. Any fellow vets in the chat? Well, I am like, you're talking about like government vets, Department of National Defense, because I'm a vet, and we'll go from there. But hello, who's lover? Hey, you were under a different name in the past. I remember this photo. Tell what was your name? Phoenix or something? Venus? Why'd you change your name? Anyways, clickbait almost dated his nephew. Oh, Jesus. You should have. You would have got secrets. Damn. Okay, let's get back to the case. And then keep this conversation going. I love this stuff, but let's... on any other episode, to be completely honest with you, I would just forget about the cases and have conversation. But this one, this one. All right, Kitty V. Okay, yes, a stalker. Okay, sorry about that. Yes, I remember how we connected. Well, good. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry about the stalker business. Yeah, that's not good. Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. All right, so recreation. So here we are coming back to this case. This is Google Earth, I think I was using at that time. Yeah, this is Google Earth. So what I did here, just to demonstrate, this is where the original witness was. This is where he saw it. Okay. This is where that video was recorded. Okay. Jillian says you seemed a bit nuts, referring to the nephew of Stanton Freeman. Jillian, we're all a little nuts. I'm nuts. We got to be nuts in order to do what we're doing. All right. So there's plenty of nuts out there. But maybe it was too nuts for your nuts. You got to meet. Well, I remember learning this somewhere. You got to find someone that is at your level of crazy. Okay? We're all crazy. But some people are more crazy. And if they're not at your level of crazy, then that's, you get it? Get what I'm saying? Sure you know. Okay, so then here is the other friend, okay, that was able to witness it before it changed its orientation. All right, Danielle says the right level of crazy is hard to find. That is true. I found my crazy. Now I might be a little bit more crazy, so hopefully I'm not more crazy than her level of crazy. Okay, stalkers in prison. Good. Okay, so what you have here is actual data that shows where the person was located and where he saw the object. And you will notice that it is in line. There's a flight path here. Okay, there's a flight path here. This is not irregular. So this also suggests that this object is moving with purpose. So it could be a known object. It's obviously low enough that he was able to record it. It was also within this space that nobody else seemed to make a report, at least that we don't know of. We can compare our data to other people and all these other things. There's a place and a time for that. We can always compare our notes to others who ask. I don't have time to compare my work to others because I'm not entirely confident that they're going to do it the way that I do it. And it's not, we'll get into that. Jill, that's something you're going to figure out when we get into cases. So here's a little bit of trigonometry, a little bit of math, a little bit of calculations that I tried to do in order to get an estimate of how far back the objects were. Okay. This is a superimposed test. So, okay. Yeah, I remember what I was doing there. Okay. So there's the witness. Here's the stop sign, street light, the house, some trees, and the object. Okay. So in order for me to figure that out, okay? Because we have this stop sign, I have this house, I have the object. I had to look at it during the day, and I had to make some assumptions, okay? There's the average height of a lamppost, okay? The average height of a stop sign, the average height of a house, and then we can estimate where the line of sight, okay, which was taken from the camera, okay? These things can be figured out. I will teach you how to figure those out if you don't know on my Patreon, okay? If you want to join one of those tiers, because that's what that's there for. Or I'll include this in the course. But if you don't, if you already know how this is done, then you understand what I've done. So making these assumptions, I had to superimpose. So take a screenshot, find it on Google Earth, and try to line it all up to get this field of view or this trajectory. I wasn't able to do that with all the other cases because there is no video. There's no three-dimensional evidence, only two-dimensional evidence or fourth-dimensional evidence, stuff in the mind, okay, or drawings. So with the right amount of evidence, I can do the work that needs to be done. And I should have been able to explain this, but I haven't. Normally, when I have enough data like this, you will not see it on the website because I solved it. Does that make sense? So this is how I was able to kind of figure out the math. There's our light post, there's all this, there's the object. And then I'm assuming that the object is at least behind those trees because of the video. And when I edited the lighting and stuff, I could see that. Okay. So this object was at least 130 feet. No, sorry. I gotta look at my 13 feet wide, at least 13 feet wide. So it could be a drone. And the reason why I say at least is because anything beyond that, I don't have any object to reference. When we look up at the stars, we don't know if that star is like here or up here in the grand vast of space. We just see it based on its brightness where it's at. We see a plane here, we see a satellite, because we know the satellites. Let me change my screen hands a little bit better. So we know that drones fly here. We know that planes fly here. Drones aren't allowed to fly here. Sometimes they do because they're not supposed to, but sometimes they do. We also know that military flies up here. Okay. And then above that are satellites. And then above that is space, allegedly. Okay. There's a lot of things that there's a lot of depth there as well. But when we're looking at it on the surface from the bottom here, looking up, and we see these lights move around, we can't really tell when we're looking up from the bottom whether or not those two lights are at the same altitude. Yeah, same altitude. For all we know, they could be one could be another plane, another one could be a drone, or a plane and a satellite on their own orbits. And then it just appears as if they're playing with each other. And there's a way to solve that out with better data. But just so you know, that's a little bit of extra information to explain how I make the assumption that I know for sure, at a minimum, it's approximately 13 feet wide. But it could also be further away. But the way that the physics works on that, if this is 13 feet in width, that means that it's directly behind the trees, which is approximately 300 feet away from the experiencer, which isn't really far. But if it's bigger, meaning it's further away, then this is quite huge. Does that make sense for the depth perception? Okay. Flat earthers also use that argument to explain the way that the sun moves. So sun and perspective, flat earth. Okay, I'm aware of this theory. Okay, it is a very, and I've seen this, and I've seen this on long drives that makes sense. So let me try and find an image that makes to help. So perspective. Okay, So these things get a little bit longer, a little bit further, and all these other things. These lights, we all know that these lights are the same measurement. We all know that these lights aren't really that congested down here. And this is an explanation that the flat earthers use to suggest, okay, that the sun moves and it's local because of perspective. Okay, think about that next time you watch a sunset. Is the sun actually moving, or is it just moving away from you, out of your line of sight? And it has that perspective phenomenon. You know, it doesn't matter what you believe in terms of that. I'm just using that physics to the same type of physics. All right, for the I'm not a scientist. I don't know the words how to explain it. All right, I'm just going to stop before I put my foot in my mouth and someone makes a stupid reel saying I'm a retard. But I can't explain it, but it's all there. So this is where we're at. Now we're going to continue to read the this part here, and then I'm going to get into the book because I know there's more information on this. Okay, 544. Ultra spectrum experiential report. Investigate and report is the request. It's a male. Blood type is unknown. That's not really relevant as an experiencer in this particular case because we're dealing with a three-dimensional object. Okay, in this space and time. Eyes are brown. Age at event. Witnesses were 4. Positive feeling. No one was injured. Demonstrative evidence. Evidence rating is 5. Okay, so if we go back to the ultra spectrum classification system. And for those of you who don't know what this system is, this is the system I've created to make sense of all these things. So a level 5 is original video only or original photos with original video. So that's a level 5. That's better. Okay. This has later moved on to a level 7 because I have government documentation and that is inside this book. So technically, but then level 8 would be best as if that original media came from the government. So that's not going to go to an 8. But that's definitely a level 7 now in the ultra spectrum evidence rating there. Okay, so sensory display, aerial activity, subtype 1. We consider it a UFO. It's unidentified. It was obviously uninvited. And evidence type is level A, evidence level 4. So then that's going to bring us to a level event category. So level 4, evidence and corroboration, type A. So 2 to 3 witnesses. So that means that there was a witness when the senses were triggered, and then we don't need physical evidence because we can skip that one to go straight to demonstrative evidence. It would have ended at level 3, but now moves to level 4 because there were witnesses. If he was able to communicate with it, then it would be a level 5. Hence CE 5, okay? Which we are rebranding, by the way. Details on that will come. Who do we got here? Two video log on YouTube. You can see the comments, use the Facebook video. Okay, you guys are having a chat inside. Okay. I saw your comment, Jill. Do you want me to wear that? Read that on the radio? Do you want me to read that? Please let me know. Do I have your permission to read your comment? But I see it. Okay, so that's where we're at on that. Interesting case. So let me add levels to that. If we just go, let's do this safely because I'm live with a lot of people and I do not want to put personal info on here, but Amazon, Ryan Stacey UFO, see if that works. Yes, it did. Perfect. So you see it's rebranded Encounters of the North. So you can find that here if you got it. It is free on Kindle if you got it. So that's a promotion we're working on. Every page you read, we get some money there. So all proceeds go back to Tesla. Okay. The more people who buy this book, the more money that, the less work I have to work elsewhere to fund Tesla. Understand how this works? We need funding. We need help. We need support. But if you want more of me, I need these bills covered. All right, so I put that in the comments. How much time we got? All right, so in this book, let me just see. I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of a additional information here. So in this book, I do reference, okay, similar things or other images. Okay, if you guys are looking to get into investigations and stuff, these could be used as a guide. When you're purchasing the data, you're not purchasing the data. So the data sets that are used on here are available for free on the website. Let me talk about that. So if you go to annual data sets, okay, because there are people who have reservations on saying you shouldn't pay for information. And I agree with that. But I shouldn't work for free. Understand? So there's a bit of a compromise here. You get to see these surveys that were done in the past. Here's all the data, all these breakdowns. You get the numbers. Okay? You can click on these links. They're all in these books. Whatever tickles your fancy. Open those up. That is free to you. What you then do with this data is completely up to you. You can take these numbers, because these numbers come from Canadian documents. This is information that is available to the public, and you can take this data and interpret it however you want. Okay. Now, it will prompt you to buy the full page report if you choose to. Okay. You don't have to. Just letting you know. Because what you're purchasing, okay, just to kind of emphasize on that, is my opinion on this data. So if my opinion on this data matters, then you can get it. I will also share my opinion on here, but also what I like to do is I like to show my work. And it's not just good enough for me to say this on this podcast. I will explain in detail how I came to these answers. To be completely transparent and help educate everybody on how I do it. And B, to give opportunity to somebody else who knows more than me to tell me I'm wrong. There is no criteria out there, that there's no schooling, there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing to compare to. And when Canada releases their Sky Project report at the end of the year, because they bumped it again, I don't know why. I've been talking to them. I gave them everything I have. I gave what they requested. Like, they're working on it. All these things should come out soon. Everybody, I guess, they're reviewing everything. But as soon as Canada does their Sky Project report, then I actually have something I can compare my work to and see where I match in comparison to this. So you will learn how I come to these conclusions. Okay. So here's another image here. I'll read these in a minute. I'm just being mindful of the time. On the other cases that aren't relevant to the one I'm discussing today, I do also explain what these abbreviations mean on these declassified documents. I publish them for free, and you can interpret them yourself and do the work. But the work that I do, I put in these books, and I'm hoping that people will just purchase it one day because they want to learn. And I'm hoping that maybe they'll teach me something. Okay, so that's what you're purchasing. You're not purchasing the information. You're purchasing my opinion and my views and my beliefs on this, because I could be wrong. I very well could be wrong. I hope that rings true to a lot of people. So if you buy it and you're better than me, or if I'm wrong, please tell me, please. Okay? Because I love feedback. Trust me, more than any other person. I need to know. And so far, the only feedback that I'm really getting is from the Canadian government asking me how the hell I figured that out. Well, a feather in that cap. But anyways, okay. Let's go. So there's another image here. Okay, so this image, so I've explained in this. Let me see here. Video evidence, digital, no problem. Brightness and saturation have been adjusted for the image immediately above. I viewed the location during the day and was able to determine the approximate minimum distance that the object was from the witness at the time of the event. An example of this is below. So then there's a little bit of me figuring out the work. And then I was able to use a video to determine where the witness was standing during the filming of the video and the approximate altitude angle of the object. By averaging the standard sizes of the visible known objects, I could estimate the approximate length of the object to be 13 feet at the approximate minimum distance as depicted below. So I explained it in a whole bunch of fancy words. Below is a map that displays the location of both witnesses and locations. I've already done that. And assume the object continues along the path, yada, yada, yada. Where's the good stuff? Okay. So here is information you won't have, and I will read this out. I had learned that the particular error, so if I were to make assumptions that this craft were to continue its trajectory beyond what we showed there, okay, there is an Edmonton Municipal Airport there. That airport, so I learned that that particular airport had closed in 2013. And that it was previously used as the Royal Canadian Air Force Base for Edmonton, Alberta. So for those of you that are there, know where that is. And there's a reference in there. Assuming that this information was accurate, because it's coming from the witness, I continued the path until I reached the next port in the new location of Canadian Forces Bases, Edmonton. So for those of you who know the area, where the object disappeared was over the old retired base. But if you continue the trajectory, it will eventually land in the new Air Force Base. That's along the same flight path. What makes it suspicious is where it's unclear on which port it landed at, because that other one's supposed to be out of commission, but it's not. Okay, think about that. Those are circumstantial evidence that gets more explained here in this book. But I have completed an access to information request to the appropriate department. I specifically asked if anything was on the radar. After a thorough investigation, I received a letter indicating that they had no documented record of any event on this date and time. I completed a second request with an expanded radius, which yielded the same result. I had completed a third request with an even more expanded radius, which yielded the same result. So I kept appealing. After receiving the third response indicating that they have found no record, I communicated with the task advisor and asked how I could clarify the object videotaped. Because I have evidence of a video of an object going over their airbase. You understand that, right? So how can the government have no record of it, but yet civilian has evidence of it moving in that trajectory? So either the object wasn't seen by the government, it didn't appear on the radar, or the government's lying about it. Okay? Don't know. So she directed me to submit a public inquiry to the Department of National Defense. I've done that. She also stated that we are not saying the event did not take place. We are simply saying that we do not have record. So that could mean that it's not a threat. It could be a blimp. It could be a drone. It could be a non-issue. Just because they don't have record of it might indicate that they understand what it is and it's not a threat to them, and that's okay. But we can't speculate on that. We can't make we can't make those types of assumptions. At the time of the writing, I've yet to receive a response. I looked into the possibility of the object being a blimp. However, according to the image below, the orientation of the navigational lights do not appear to resemble. So then there's an example to explain that work. To do the speed and national. So a quote from SkyTech UAV Area Media. So you get a quote from your experts. Okay, you may be, as an investigator, I understand what evidence I need. I just can't comment on it. I need expert statements to verify my theories. So the speed and navigational lights do not support the evidence of a standard aircraft. There was no audible noise from the unknown object. This could have been due to the engine noise of the reporting vehicle in local traffic. To suggest that several drones could be feasible and reported altitude is within the drone range with an apparent height and speed. So I shared this video and reported evidence with our evidence review team. Team Iridu, that's another project that's coming back. No one within that investigative unit, so my field investigating unit team, including our drone specialist, was able to explain the object. So then I classified it as unidentified as a CEA, close experience, level A with level 4 evidence, considered the event to be a sensory display with the category type of aerial activity. So that's how I ended that case. There's a little bit more information. Okay, what you're getting in here is a detailed explanation onto how I come to these results. I want to eventually teach you guys how to do these things. I used to be the director of training and field investigator training for MoveOn. I wrote the second manual to replace the MoveOn manual that they're using right now. I just haven't published it yet under Tessa. I have a manual. I have the means to do that. I just don't have the time. And I also don't, because I don't have the people. There's a supply and there's more demand than supply. Okay. When I originally had this idea and stuff like this, it wasn't mine. For those who know, who've been following me for a while, it's an experience that I had, and I've been working on it, and I've been evolving, and I've been trying to accept and come forward in a way that's not going to jeopardize my company. All right. I'm speaking a little bit freely here, and I will speak more freely in future days when I am confident that when I tell you all these things that I have experienced, that my clients who might also be enjoying this don't resend on their contracts. So there is a real, stress there in the working world that a lot of people have. But I have to break that mold, and I have to do that. And there are ways to do that. And I'm almost there. So I'll leave it at that. The show is over. Let me get to these comments, and then I'll end the show. Chris, next week, let me share my screen here because I knew this one was going to take the whole time. We're going to probably do this one here. My good buddy he's also from Alberta, but he's in BC now. Man, when I get these cases, when I know these people on a personal level, it's really hard for me not to tell who they are, but I know who you are. So this guy's case is pretty cool. This is a pretty cool dude. He's an RCMP, retired RCMP, so he's a credible witness. All right, so we'll talk about that one next week. Okay, so let's get into the comments, see what I missed here. I do have a little bit of play for the next show's got, I think they start at 6:10. So let me try and get out of here in that. I'm an experiencer and multi-generational recently. It's been awesome. Well, thank you for your service to the phenomenon. Jillian doesn't care. Well, I skipped your comment, so we don't need that. Love your books. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Support. Okay, a lot of you guys are just talking to each other, so I don't really need to address any of these comments. Daniela says, good one. I enjoyed watching as always. No problem. So I'll leave it at that. Next week, in the next coming weeks, you're going to see some updates. You're definitely going to see an update this week because I have a huge announcement to make for this presentation that I'm doing on Saturday, okay, November, whatever day that is, at 12:50 Eastern time is my segment. But the whole show goes for the whole day, okay? It is a conference. I just got to figure out whose conference it is because I agreed to do this. I just got my schedule. I don't remember who it is. So I gotta figure that out, make my announcement, let you guys know, and then hopefully you can tune in on Saturday. And then on Monday, we'll do that podcast. And then on Tuesday will be another announcement. So if I do not get the time to do the written work announcement because of all of this transition stuff, that episode will be the announcement. Okay? So we will figure that out and we will talk about it and we will announce it then. So next Tuesday will also be a huge announcement in retrospect to all of these things that we've been working on. So I do apologize to experiencers. I haven't got your cases done and all these things on the website. There's a lot of moving parts to do it the way that I want it. And I finally figured out a way to do it. And I've been looking for a team. So we're adding a third to the operation program. If we need to add a fourth, we'll add a fourth. But right now we're pretty darn sure that we need a third. And we finally got it. So we're gonna see how far that third can share the load. And if the three of us can do it, then great. And if not, we'll add a fourth. Right? That's operational. Okay. You can still join Tessa and be a member and create content. You can be a writer, you can be a podcaster, you can be a support, you can help with things, you can merchandiser. There's a lot of things that Tessa can do for you as an individual if you want to be a part of the team. The team that I'm talking about and referring to are the people that work behind the scenes to make these things possible. All right. I did not set up this podcast. Chris did. And in order to make this possible, I have to train him, I have to coach him, I have to pay for the software and all these other things. I got to do all these moving parts just to sit here and have this conversation, right? And it's great that I'm able to do that, but I'm also reliable on Chris. Chris needs a backup, and then that backup is going to need a backup, and all these backups are going to be needed. But how do we recruit when it's a volunteer organization, right? You understand the situation I'm in? So I'm going to put this out there, that the more help we have, the faster the progress will be. If you're not in a rush, then fine. I'm going to take my sweet time with your cases because I got other things that I have to do. But if you are in a rush, then help. And if you don't know how to help, just say, hey, I'm willing to help. These are my skills. We'll find something for you. All right? So I'll leave it at that. And what do you see here? There's no chance of on Earth anything is anomalous. Yes, heed the world. Thank you, Lisa. I'm sharing my adventures. Got to... Okay, yeah. Again, talking to yourselves, which is okay. This is great. I don't need to respond. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of The Skeptical Sleuth, broadcasting live on United Public Radio Network, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast of 107.7 in New Orleans. Also broadcasting on social media, and this show is brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. Remember, as we said, okay, heavy episode. Have a good week. MB Costigan, thank you for the like. Thank you, everybody else, for tuning in. I didn't say hello. Sorry. I'll get you next time. Where am I at? Yeah, one lie is enough to question all truths. That's where we're at. Okay, thanks for watching. Keep your eyes in the sky. And as always, as Lisa said it for me, be the world. Peace.
If you want to really, really find out about Ryan, ask him about all his work and UFOs in Ontario.
Ryan is one of Canada's leading new UFO investigators. He conducts and oversees UFO investigations on a constant basis. He's compiled a tremendous amount of data regarding UFOs in Canada.
I have used his research extensively. He's much more than a one-dimensional character. He's an authority on UFOs and investigating them, Meg.
Wow!
Really goes over how UFO investigations are done and what are some of the mistakes that people make when they submit evidence. For starters, don't edit your videos or photos before you send them.
He would come out with an annual report on not only the number of sightings, but how many were unexplained, unknown, or just, nothing could be said. What caused
it? If you
it?
want to hear more follow-up conversation between Ryan and myself, you can go to richardolanmembers.com, where we have a candid conversation on ufology, the paranormal, and more. And remember, while we learn and grow and search for the truth, let's be good to each other.